Tennis has a drug problem. But not the kind you think. Not syringes or steroids hidden in duffel bags. This is clean, doctor approved, and 100% legal. You guessed it, it's called Aderall. And if you believe the rumors from players themselves, a huge percentage of the ATP Tour is using it. Not recreationally, not accidentally, but as a performance enhancer under the protection of a doctor's note. It's the sport's dirtiest open secret. And the wildest part? Well, it's all within the rules. Aderall is banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency, or WADA.
At the World Anti-Doping Agency, we want what you want.
Because I can't win if I don't play true. That's all I want.
Under its prohibited list in the category of stimulants. But there's a loophole. If an athlete secures a what's called TUE, or therapeutic use exemption, by being diagnosed with ADHD or a related condition, they can take it legally. So is tennis really clean? Or is it quietly being powered by a prescription drug with massive performance benefits? This is the story of how Aderall became tennis's legal doping loophole, and why it threatens the very integrity of the entire sport. So to understand why this is such a big deal, we first have to understand what Aderall actually does. So Aderall is a central nervous system stimulant made from a combination of amphetamine salts, specifically amphetamine aspartate, amphetamine sulfate, dextroamphetamine saccharate, and dextroamphetamine sulfate. These ingredients work by increasing levels of dopamine and norepinephrine, which are neurotransmitters responsible for regulating attention, alertness, and energy. We know that sounds like a bunch of nonsense to most of you, but here's what the result is. Those who take it get an increased concentration and mental clarity, faster reaction times, improved short-term memory, decreased fatigue, and elevated motivation and drive. According to a review in CNS Drugs, healthy individuals taking amphetamine stimulants experienced improved performance in tasks involving executive function, working memory, and sustained attention. So for athletes, what does that mean? Better split-second decision-making, sharper execution under fatigue, greater mental endurance during long matches, and a stronger ability to maintain focus during pressure points. So combine that with an already elite physical game, and you've created a superhuman focus machine. Especially in a sport like tennis, where matches can last 4 to 5 hours. And mental lapses are often the difference between victory and defeat. And this isn't a fringe belief. Multiple studies support the idea that amphetamine stimulants like Aderall enhance both cognitive and athletic performance, especially in endurance-based sports. What's even more revealing is how the benefits are not marginal. In controlled lab settings, Aderall users show statistically significant advantages over non-users in tasks requiring sustained attention, complex problem solving, and working memory, all functions directly tied to match play on a tennis court. In fact, a study published in Sports Medicine found that amphetamines can increase endurance by up to 15%, even in trained athletes. So it's not just mental, it's physical too. Tennis players using Aderall aren't just sharper, they're lasting longer, maintaining intensity, and recovering faster. So how are players getting their hands on a substance that is banned without a medical note? The answer lies in the overdiagnosis of ADHD, a trend that's been gaining momentum for years. In a major piece in Psychology Today, it outlines the troubling rise in ADHD diagnoses. It cites the following drivers: subjectivity of symptoms, where ADHD is diagnosed using behavioral checklists and patient reports, making it easy to exaggerate or manipulate symptoms. There's pharmaceutical incentives. Drug companies aggressively market ADHD medications.
So here's the deal. Vyvanse helps control my ADHD. That's it. As part of a treatment plan, my doctor prescribed Vyvanse. It won't do my laundry or do my work for me, but for some adults with ADHD, Vyvanse works throughout the day, even at 14 hours after taking it. Vyvanse helps control my ADHD. I do the rest.
And there's social and academic pressure. People are motivated to seek diagnoses for cognitive edge, especially in competitive environments like academics or sports. On top of that, the rise of telemedicine and private ADHD clinics has made diagnosis faster and easier than ever before. These clinics often advertise directly to consumers and are less stringent than traditional diagnostic settings. According to a report from the CDC, ADHD diagnosis increased by 42% between 2003 and 2011, with over 6.4 million children in the US being diagnosed as of 2011. And this trend isn't limited to children. Adult ADHD diagnoses are also rising rapidly, particularly among college students and college athletes seeking mental performance boosts. In a 2018 study from Journal of Attention Disorders, they found that 17% of college students had misused prescription stimulants, often by faking symptoms to gain access. That's almost 20% of college students taking Aderall. This same logic applies to tennis. If a player can get a diagnosis, regardless of whether they meet strict clinical criteria, they can legally compete on a banned substance. So what happens when players start gaming the system? What if half the locker room is on a banned stimulant, but it's completely legal? Well, it might already be happening. Hey, before we get to the shocking claims from real ATP pros, take a moment to support this channel. Only 8% of viewers are subscribed. If you want more brutally honest deep dives into the side of tennis no one else will touch, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's blow the lid off this together. Let's talk tennis, because this isn't just speculation. There are players on record saying this is real. In a bombshell article by Sportskita, former NCAA champion Tyson Kwiatkowski made headlines by accusing a massive portion of the ATP of using Aderall under TUEs. He stated, "Every single tennis player is on Aderall. I don't know how it's legal." And that's not a fringe opinion. Former world number 17 Riley Opelka said, "Aderall should be banned. It's a performance enhancer, and players know how to get around the system." Now, these statements reflect a growing frustration among players, not just about fairness, but about the integrity of the game. Then there's Fernando Verdasco, former world number 7 Spanish player, tested positive for Aderall in 2022, and was suspended by the ITIA for 2 months. Now, what's the kicker of this story? Well, believe it or not, he wasn't even punished for taking Aderall. He was punished for forgetting to renew his TUE. This wasn't seen as a breach of ethics. It was seen only as a paperwork error and got very little coverage. And then there's Caruso, a once former pro, now current pro, and now one of tennis's leading YouTube voices. In a clip from the Changeover podcast, Sel says,
I do agree with what you just said. Like, I personally don't think tennis is clean. I'm more on the case of like the players that are able to take Adderall, and I'm like, okay.
That's what I was going to go next.
I'm just like, you can just be locked in mentally for hours. You know what I mean? It's like the hardest part of the sport.
Limitless pill.
Limitless pill. And the correlation between, I don't really want to be outing people, but like the correlations between like results and like when I first heard like, oh, guys are taking this, and then like the results start like going through the roof. I'm like, well, the correlation's pretty high. And then there's people that are going to be like, well, like you just puts them at baseline.
Sell elaborates that while he understands the need for medication in true ADHD cases, he's seen firsthand how many players use it solely for its performance benefits. And here's where it gets even more complicated. The ITIA does not publicly disclose which players have a TUE, so fans, opponents, and even fellow competitors have no way of knowing who's playing enhanced. Unless you see someone take Aderall in the locker room, of course. This lack of transparency makes tennis vulnerable to rumors, distrust, and what some are now calling a two-tiered system. The natural versus the medicated. This isn't about blaming players. Athletes in every sport will push the rules to the edge. If the rulebook says it's allowed, they'll use it. That's the nature of elite competition. But this isn't just any edge. It's a banned stimulant for those without a doctor's note. One so potent that students use it illegally just to pass exams. And tennis has effectively made it legal, as long as you know which doctor to talk to. So here's our take. Aderall is performance enhancing. The science confirms it. The players confirm it. The only people pretending it isn't are the ones writing the rules. So either ban Aderall entirely, no exceptions, and remove it from the sport, or tighten these TUE requirements drastically, including second opinions, independent medical reviews, and public disclosure of TUE usage, which is done in cycling and MMA. Because right now, tennis has created a culture where doping is legal. And if you know the right loophole, you can take it. And that's not clean competition. That's an illusion of fairness wrapped in red tape. Until there's transparency, players who follow the rules the hard way, who grind without enhancements, will always wonder if they're fighting an uphill battle against a chemically sharpened opponent. And fans, we'll never know if what we're watching is pure athletic greatness or prescription-fueled precision. But what do you think? Is Aderall use fair in pro tennis? Is it medicine or is it a PED in disguise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And hey, if you think tennis deserves better transparency, honesty, and accountability, keep watching Hot Take Tennis because we're just getting started.
Working hard out.